If you're wondering what the top areas and suburbs of San Diego are, well, who better to ask than the AI? So I hopped into ChatGPT and asked it, what are the top 10 suburbs in San Diego? And it spit out the list that you are seeing right now. And it's funny because I did this a few times and I got a few different answers. Most of the list was very similar, but it did give us a nice list of a bunch of different communities around San Diego. You might agree with them, you might not. So Cassidy and I are gonna dive into each community, let you know what they're all about, the pros and the cons, and help you decide if that might be the place you want to move. So let's jump into it. So coming in at number 10 on the list is North Park, just north of San Diego. So North Park is actually within the city of San Diego. The city of San Diego is huge and there's a ton. Some of the other little places that we're covering today too are within the city of San Diego, some of their own cities. But North Park, as the computer said, hip and trendy. That's kind of what North Park's known for. A lot of cool little local bars and restaurants. It's one of the more walkable neighborhoods in San Diego. So you have just the surrounding areas. You have like downtown San Diego, which is super walkable. You have North Park, you have Little Italy, you have Hillcrest. Those are kind of things that will come up on your radar if you're searching kind of that area. So there are some surrounding areas right outside of North Park. One of the cons is a lot of the housing down there, a lot of the homes are a bit older. So as you get further away from downtown, typically when you get into the north suburbs of San Diego, homes are a little bit newer as a whole. You're looking at like 70s and 80s, but North Park, you do get some of those super old homes. So they are quaint, they are cool. If you like that vibe, you like that style, you like that walkability, then North Park might be the spot for you.
North Park is also really well known for having a big coffee scene. There's a lot of coffee shops, a lot of cool spots to check out. And they also have a really cool music venue called the Observatory in North Park that is definitely worth checking out too. Next up on the list is a community that a lot of folks will be looking at a few communities together on this list, but the first one that comes up is Scripps Ranch. Scripps Ranch is kind of an inland community just east of Carmel Valley, Rancho Penasquitos area, and it is really well known for great schools. It's a little bit newer, like Chris mentioned, as you go further from downtown, you get a little bit more of those master plan communities. Scripps Ranch is definitely one of those. A lot of newer, somewhat newer, like 80s and on homes, bigger footprints, bigger lots, and it's just a huge area. And we were just showing property this past weekend out at Scripps Ranch, and it took me a good 20 minutes to get back to the freeway. I was probably not going the most efficient way, but it does go out east a long way. Scripps Ranch also, as they were building the development, they put in a ton of infrastructure specifically for Scripps Ranch. So you've got all your grocery stores, you've got kind of all the amenities you need right kind of in the heart of Scripps Ranch.
Coming in at number 8 is Rancho Bernardo. It's in North County, a little area called North County, San Diego, which a few other ones are on there as well, but it's basically split by the 15 freeway. So you have kind of the eastern portion where you just butt up against Lake Hodges, and then you have the the eastern portion. Did I say that right? East and west? West and east. Anyways, on the west side of the freeway, that's Lake Hodges. On the east side of the freeway, that's where you have just a bunch more houses and shopping. There's a golf course and stuff, whatnot. A really cool spot, actually, the Rancho Bernardo Winery. If you got kiddos, really cool spot to bring them out there. And it's like a little kind of, it's not necessarily a town, but they do have a winery there, and then they have a bunch of little shops and stuff to cruise around, drink your wine on the property. So anyways, a lot of different housing options as well. So you got the detached homes, you have a lot of condo options. They're kind of those older style condos. There's a few bigger communities that do have like 60s, 70s style condos. So a little bit aged where they're living more like apartment style, top and bottom, as opposed to like townhouse style. But you can find that as well in Rancho Bernardo.
In this section of San Diego, there's actually kind of a handful of larger tech companies in this corridor right off the 15, kind of right on the edge of Rancho Bernardo, where you've got Sony down there, you've got Apple, you've got a couple other tech companies that have their offices there. So we're looking to move and work for one of those companies or any of them in that corridor. You'll be looking at Rancho Bernardo and Scripps Ranch like we just talked about, and one more that we'll chat about in a second. Next up on the list is Solana Beach. It is the first of the coastal communities that are coming up on this list, and it is in a great community. Definitely has that kind of beachy surfer vibe, but also has kind of that upscale. They have a design district called Cedros Avenue, which has a whole ton of shops for home decor, finishes, things like that. So it definitely tends to be one of the higher end beach communities within San Diego.
And although Solana Beach is right on the beach, there's not too many beach access points. There's a few where you access it and you're way up on top of these cliffs. Fletcher Cove's the main one. You can go north, you can go a little bit, you can go south down to Del Mar as well to hit some of the beaches that are a little more flat, a little more easy access to get onto, but the views are beautiful, obviously. But getting down there, not as many crowds, which is good, but not as easy to access. Say you got kids, you're bringing your coolers down there, maybe Fletcher Cove might be the easiest. The other ones are like hundreds of stairs going down. And so we've helped a lot of clients move to all these places and the ones that are gonna be coming up here pretty soon. But the only way for us to help you is to reach out. So all that info is popping up right now. Take a screenshot and we got your back when moving here to San Diego. Coming in at number 6 is Poway. A lot of people like Poway. They like the school districts in Poway. They like the different options in Poway. You do have butted up right against the 15 freeway. So this is just kind of north of that Scripps Ranch area, and then Carmel Mountain Ranch, and then you have Poway up there. And like I said, schools, but a lot of different options. I think their motto is where the country meets the city, because if you go like far east in Poway, you're gonna have a lot of that kind of rural, semi-rural living, but then also some beautiful, big gated communities too. So that's kind of a little further out. And then you have a bunch of different choices for like older homes, like 70s style homes, those ranch style single story homes. And then right in the center too is like the old Poway Park, where they have the farmers market every week. They do have a little train cruise around, so you can bring the guys out and cruise around, explore it a little bit, meet some of the locals out there as well.
In Poway, also Chris mentioned a lot of outdoor activities. Hiking is definitely one of those. Just close by to the east, you've got Potato Chip Rock, which is one of the most famous hikes here in San Diego. But there's a bunch of hiking and walking trails and stuff within Poway also. Just a side note, it does get hot, just like in the communities like Scripps Ranch, Poway, and Rancho Bernardo. It does tend to be a little bit warmer than some of the coastal cities we'll talk about too. Next up on the list is a very cool community, Coronado Island. It is not an island, it is peninsula, but Coronado is a really cool upscale community. Kind of has a mix of that beach feel, but also a little bit country club too. There's a small golf course on the island. It's definitely in that kind of older neighborhood style. You got a lot of older homes, but then you've got a whole bunch of homes that have been either completely remodeled, completely torn down and rebuilt. And there's just a lot of really cool housing. There's also big stretches of really cool views. You've either got views of the Hotel Del, which is awesome. You've got just ocean views for as far as you can see on the main drag going along the beach in Coronado. And then you've got a lot of views facing east also towards the downtown skyline, the bay. It's just really a really cool community.
And for those of us who live in San Diego and don't live in Coronado, it's a great place that a lot of people who live out there too have it's like second homes, but also a great place for staycations and stuff. So you go down there, you can explore if you're living anywhere within San Diego, but real flat, biking, walking, explore the restaurants. It's definitely touristy, but it's a good little spot in San Diego.
If you are commuting, it's not the most convenient spot. That's one of the only cons. Either the bridge or driving all the way down the peninsula down to Imperial Beach. And it tends to take a little while, especially if it is during commute times. The traffic does back up a bit.
Clocking in at number 4 is going to be Carlsbad in North County, San Diego. It's the second city to the south, just Oceanside to the north. Then you have Carlsbad as you're coming down the 5 freeway. And it is a lot of different styles of living. So it's one of the bigger cities in North County, San Diego. You have 4 different zip codes. You have 2 coastal ones and 2 inland. So it's just a ton of different little spots that you can explore, tons of different style of housing. Every little neighborhood has their own little shopping centers, their own little places to eat. Walkability, you're only going to have downtown Carlsbad. Everywhere else, as with a lot of these places, San Diego is a commuter town, so you're going to be driving everywhere. And if you're on one side of Carlsbad and have to go to the other, takes a long time just because it's so big.
Carlsbad's also really well known for great schools. Most of Carlsbad feeds into Carlsbad's Unified School District. There are a couple of one odd zip code that has 3 school districts. We have other videos about that as well. But Carlsbad is also really well known for some gorgeous beaches, big stretches of boardwalk for walking along the beach. You've also got amazing parks. I think Carlsbad probably has some of the best parks in San Diego County. You've got Alga Norte, you've got Stagecoach, and there's a bunch of other ones. Number 3, Encinitas. This is another one of those really cool beach towns, kind of the most quintessential of kind of the surfer beach town style. And if you're looking for that vibe, which we get a lot of folks that are, they just want a little bit more of that laid back feel, which is kind of across San Diego as a whole. But Encinitas definitely takes it to another level. And Encinitas is not quite as big as Carlsbad. Well, nowhere near as big as Carlsbad, but also has kind of distinct areas. So you can get kind of that equestrian rural hiking if you go to the east side of Encinitas, and then you can get that real beachy feel kind of on the whole coastal section. And Encinitas has a ton to offer with restaurants, bars, not a ton of nightlife, but a ton of just really cool spots to hit.
And I'm gonna throw in a bonus one as well, technically part of the city of Encinitas, but it's its own vibe. It's Cardiff by the Sea. It's 92007. If you look on a map, you'll see it just south of where it says Encinitas. And once again, really cool little vibe down there. They have their little town center with seaside market, a few little shops, great pizza place, little tasting rooms, and a few restaurants. Really walkable down there. And also some of the best beaches in all of North County. Hopping into number 2 is Del Mar. So we're gonna go with the city of Del Mar, because Del Mar is, the city is like real tiny. It's like just a little section of Del Mar, but Del Mar as a whole, what we call Del Mar, is a lot bigger. 92014 is kind of Del Mar as a whole. Del Mar proper is just a city. So that's like, you have the downtown Del Mar section, you have the racetrack to the north, you have just a very cool kind of old school vibe in Del Mar. Obviously one of the more expensive places that made the list today. But once you do expand to some of those other areas just around, that's not Del Mar proper, Del Mar City, there are a bunch of little other areas of Del Mar that are worth checking out as well.
Del Mar, housing-wise, pretty much the same. There's not a ton of townhomes and condo-style living. It's mostly detached houses, and you have a big group of oceanfront or really close to oceanfront homes throughout Del Mar, including some that are on the sand, kind of in the north region of Del Mar. So if you're looking for oceanfront, Del Mar's got some great options. But then as you go east, there are some really, really cool houses. It's pretty steep hills, so you tend to get a little bit different architecture and styles of homes, but it is a really cool spot. So number 1 on the list, we might not agree with where it falls on this list, but is La Jolla. La Jolla is a really cool community. It has a ton of views. We mentioned Del Mar has some views. La Jolla knocks it out of the park with views because it is all built up on hills, either La Jolla shoreside or up in kind of the main section of La Jolla. You've got views from a lot of houses. So if you're looking for wide, expansive ocean, it's definitely your spot. And downtown La Jolla is a really cool vibe. It's got a lot of upscale restaurants. It's got the Comedy Store, which is rad. It's got a lot of bars, a couple new tasting rooms and stuff too. So it has a lot to offer. And really why we don't love this number 1 on the list is just because of traffic. La Jolla just tends to be one of the busier cities. If someone's vacationing in San Diego, La Jolla tends to be at the top of the list, or in and around areas around La Jolla too. So the beaches get crowded, the city itself, all the restaurants and stuff tend to get really crowded. And if you're commuting, it's not great to have a whole ton of tourists in your city, and there's really only a couple ways in and out.
But if you do want to check out a little bit more of La Jolla, we did just do a vlog on a little section that is pretty killer in La Jolla. So I think it's popping up above Cassidy's head right now. Go check it out and check out other little areas of San Diego.